Hi everybody and welcome back to Life Full of Zest. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to activate and engage your core correctly. A lot of time people struggle to understand what they're meant to feel and how they're meant to achieve that true core activations. If you watch this video, you'll get a good understanding of how to activate your core. We are going to run through some breathing exercises. From there, I will teach you how to maintain that core activation while doing a number of different movements through a range of motion. Let's get straight into it, starting with that breathing and then how to actually truly activate that core and what you are meant to feel. So when you're ready, come and join me on the mat, and we are going to be starting in a seated position. I want you to place your right hand on that right hip just in front of that bone area, and those fingers just to fold over that bony section. And then I want you to take that left hand and place it over your left rib section. And when we're breathing, we want to focus on that deep lateral breathing. So we are breathing with the intention of really filling our lungs with air, so much so that our ribs open up and close when we are exhaling. So before we progress any further, let's take 3 deep breaths. Let's go in through the nose and out through the mouth. And that's 1 deep breath in and out. And last one, deep breath in and out. So during those 3 deep breaths, you'll have felt your left hand lifting and lowering as those ribs lifted and lowered. Now I want you to take a note of that right hand, and I want you to try and activate that core. And so it's very easy just to say activate the core, but if you don't quite know how to do that, it doesn't really mean anything. So let's try some strategies. What I like to do with the people that I generally work with is I encourage them to cough. So let's cough together. 1, 2, 3, and coughing. Okay, so as you cough, you should feel that tightness into that deep TA muscle, that deep transverse abdominal muscle. That's your muscle that really lines that lower part of your core. It connects from your ribs to your hips, and that's the main strong muscle that we want to strengthen and activate today. So if you feel like you got that activation after that cough, let's try to do a few deep breaths. And if you feel like you didn't, try imagine like you're holding in a wee, or you are laughing really, really hard at someone. And so while you're doing that, I want you to keep that activation, maintaining that activation. Let's take another 3 deep breaths. Let's inhale and exhale. So now we are inhaling. And as we're doing so, we are maintaining that core activation, and we are feeling the movement of those ribs in and out while we're keeping that activation. Let's do 1 more deep breath in and exhale. And now we are ready to progress into a different position. Let's try doing that on our backs. I want you to keep that right hand just over that right hip and that left hand on those left ribs. Let's try and re-engage that core. And sucking belly to spine. So now we've got that core activated. I want you to draw that belly towards your spine. And now I want you to try and imagine like you truly are holding in a wee. So you're sucking in that pelvic floor. You're pulling it up inwards towards your center. And we are going to take 3 more deep breaths. But this time I want you to imagine that diaphragm, which is your breathing muscle, which also forms as part of your core. It is lifting as you exhale and dropping down as you inhale. So imagine as it's dropping down, that air filling those lungs, and it's creating that space needed so that you can fill your lungs with air. Let's take 3 deep breaths. Deep breath in and exhale. And inhale and exhale, keeping that core tight. And inhale as that diaphragm lifts and lowers. Exhale. Our next step is to make sure that our pelvis is in that correct positioning. Now I want you to take your hands and just create a triangle with them. And then you're going to place the palms of your hands on your hips, and the pointy part of your fingers should then connect with one another on that pubic bone. So when I say I want your pelvis in a horizontal position, if you imagine that triangle to be in a completely horizontal position towards the floor, so it's not pointing upwards or pointing downwards, it's in a flat position, which allows that pelvis to be in a neutral position and then allowing that lower back to be in its natural lumbar curve. If you do, however, suffer or struggle with lower back pain, I would recommend that you just decrease that lower curve by almost imprinting your back into the floor. So we are ready. I want you placing both hands on each hip, activating your tummy. Let's get that cough in or get that laugh in, activating, sucking in that pelvic floor. And while we're doing that, we're drawing that belly to spine. So you're activating so much so that your belly is drawing towards your back or to your spine. We're going to take a deep breath in and we're going to lift that right leg into tabletop. There's a 90-degree angle in my knee, and we are slowly going to take 3 deep breaths with this right leg in that tabletop. Let's inhale and exhale. And inhale, maintaining that activation. Work really hard to keep that activation. And exhale. And last one, deep breath in. And as we exhale, we're just going to toe tap down and lift that leg back up. And while we're doing so, I want you to envision that core doing all the work to lift and lower that leg. A lot of people tend to find that they start feeling an activation into their quads or into their hip flexors, which isn't what we want. We want to really focus on the engagement of that core to lift and lower that knee. Let's do one more before we progress onto that left leg, and slowly down, deep breath in and exhale, left leg up into that tabletop, and 3 deep breaths, deep breath in and exhale and inhale and breathing out, and last one, deep breath in and exhale, slowly toe tapping and back up. So now we are working on maintaining that activation as we move that leg through a certain range of motion, drawing that belly to spine, making sure that you're not using your neck or anywhere else to perform the movement. If you are engaging and activating your core correctly, you should only feel it in your core and not anywhere else. And slowly dropping that leg back down. We are going to lift both legs into tabletop position now. So let's lift that right leg up. But before we do so, just make sure you have got that activation. Right leg up and left leg up. Now you should feel that your pelvis is wanting to lean forward as we have a little bit less of a stability in that lower region of our body. So we got to work really hard in engaging that core to maintain that neutral pelvic positioning as we spoke about earlier. We're drawing that pelvic floor, we're sucking it in, and we are going to do another 3 deep breaths in this tabletop position. You want those knees to be in line with those hips and those ankles to be in line with those knees, and taking 3 deep breaths. Deep breath in and exhale. And remember, imagining that air coming in through that nose, filling those lungs. And as it fills those lungs, that diaphragm is dropping down. And as you empty those lungs, that diaphragm is lifting. And let's do one more deep breath. And exhale. And from here we are going to do single leg toe taps, which is just alternating, dropping your toes towards the floor while keeping that 90-degree angle in your knees. But again, you are working your core to perform the movement. We tend to get quite a false sense of movement or activation when we might be performing the movement but not really feeling anything, and you will feel the difference if you try and just really lift and lower your legs without actually activating your core, and then retrying it again with that core activation, you'll really feel the difference, and you'll feel the effectiveness of those efforts to activate that core. I hope that all makes sense. It's just a case of really focusing on what you're trying to achieve and why you're actually doing that movement. Let's lift both legs back into tabletop. And last little exercise, you're going to bring your arms into a T-point, and I want you to slowly drop your knees towards the left hand side, just ever so slightly. And you're going to, as you exhale, you're using your core to draw yourself back to center, and then doing the same thing towards the right hand side and drawing back to center. But I want you to, there are those little bones at the back of your pelvis that I want you to try and maintain in that position. You don't want it to lift as you drop your knees from left to right. You want to keep those bones on the floor, and this will help you just get a sense of understanding of how to keep that core activated. So I can't even go that far. I just want to go just to there to pull back up, because if I go any further, those bones in the back of my hips are going to lift, and then I'm going to lose control and actually lose activation of my core. And let's do one more on each side, keeping that 90-degree angle in those hips and knees, and slowly coming back to center and bending those knees and hugging those knees towards your chest. If activating and engaging your core is not something that you have practiced or done on a regular basis, you will find that maintaining that activation will be quite difficult, but it's okay as long as you continue to try and practice activating that core, and you'll find that that strength will improve, and you will be able to maintain that activation for longer, and then continue into doing a variety of different movements and exercises while maintaining an effective core activation. The key is in that slow, controlled and focused movement, and understanding the reason and the motivation behind why you are doing that movement. Please let me know if you managed to activate your core effectively, and if you struggled, please comment in the comment section below, and maybe we can find an alternative way to help you get that deep and effective core activation. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video, and if you like that video, hit that subscribe button so I can continue to interact with you on a regular basis. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video.